Hello, everybody. Good to see everybody here. The Administration and Finance Committee meeting for Tuesday, May 11, 2021 is called to order at 8:02 p.m. We've already had a moment of silent meditation and pledge of allegiance. Madam Clerk, may we please have a roll call, please?
Roll call. Chair Nickerson.
Here.
Vice Chair Martin.
Here.
Member Urbom.
Present.
Member Perella.
Here.
Member Dr. Lightfoot Ward. Also present for the record, Janice Jacoby, Village Clerk, Christy Alou, Village Manor, Interim Village Attorney Joseph Geller, and Chris Wallace, CFO.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. I appreciate that. Approval of the agenda. Does anybody have any additions or deletions to the agenda? Hearing none, may I please get a motion to approve the agenda?
Sorry.
I will make a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion moved by Vice Mayor Urbom. May I get a second?
I'll second.
Second by Vice Chair Martin. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Hearing no nays, moving on. Acknowledgement of visitors and or special presentations. We have none. Moving on. Good and welfare. Anybody from the audience right now has anything that they want to say about this particular agenda? Now's your time to do so. Come up and say your name and address for the record, and you have 3 minutes. I'm seeing and hearing none. Moving on to the agenda items. So you guys, G1, G2, G3 kind of all go together. I just want to put this on your radar. At the next Administration and Finance Committee meeting, we're going to come back with actual documents to look through, and then we will look through those. Of course, they'll be sent to you prior to the Administration and Finance Committee meeting, and so you guys have time to look over it. So then we'll go through them one by one, these 3 items at the next Administration and Finance Committee meeting, and see if we want to vote those documents through to the full council. And these are RFP, RFQs. I'll talk with the village attorney and village manager and see which ones we want to do, whether it be for price or just for a quote. So it'll be either RFP or RFQ. One will be for information technology services or IT services. We haven't had a bid out for that for a while. Another will be the CFO services, just because our CFO right now is an interim CFO and has been for a while. We need to find a permanent CFO. And the other one is the attorney services. Our attorney right now is an interim attorney, and we need to have a permanent attorney. So I'm just trying to move those things forward. So like I said, G1, G2, and G3 is just to put this on your radar. We will come back with actual RFP or RFQ documentation at the next Administration and Finance Committee meeting. Anybody from the committee have anything that they want to say about these 3 items?
No.
You guys good? Okay. Anybody from the audience have anything they want to say about the RFP or RFQ situation for the Information Technology Services, CFO, or Attorney Services? I'm seeing none. As I said, again, these will be brought to you in more detail at the next Administration and Finance Committee meeting. Next is G4, you guys. G4 is a budget review preparation. So I want to start preparing, as you heard the village manager say during the last meeting, which was the public affairs meeting, that budget season is coming up, right, in August. August and September, we're going into budget season. We really start preparing for it in like July, right? So the budget is here. It's been sent to you guys. I just want to put this here, this for preparation purposes, so you guys can have the budget, start to go through the budget line by line, so that you know what you want to do going into the budget season, so that when we have our first budget workshop, if you see something and you're like, hey, I want this to be adjusted like this, you can take that take this document that you guys have in front of you, you can start making notes on it and things like that. We do have the CFO here tonight, Mr. Wallace. If there's anything that you saw looking over this budget that, you know, maybe just sticks out to you like a sore thumb and you just kind of want like an answer to it right now, he's here to answer those questions. But this was really given to you for preparation purposes, so that you can have it, start to look over it, and start to get your questions ready and know what you want to do when we get to our first budget workshop and we enter into budget season, which will be coming up on us within a matter of like 8 weeks, 6 weeks or something like that. It's 8 weeks, right? So that's why you guys have this. Are there any questions that you guys have for the CFO, Mr. Wallace, right now about the budget that stands out to you, other than like just preparation purposes of getting ready for budget season?
No.
I'm hearing none. Anybody in the audience, Any questions about preparation for budget season for Mr. Wallace? I'm seeing none from the audience. Again, you guys, it's just for preparation purposes. Have this document, go through this document line by line, get your questions ready, know what you want to do going into budget workshop, the budget season and budget workshop, for example. Perfect example is my vice chair, the wonderful Vice Chair Martin. She brought up how, in the future at the next public affairs meeting, she's going to bring up, different organizations for African-American, young African-American men. That might be something that we find money in the budget for. We make a line item and things like that. Those are the type of things you go through this budget. You could just write on the budget and write things that's going to prepare you for the budget workshop. Take care, Clerk Jacoby, and happy birthday to your daughter. Happy birthday to your daughter. She's wonderful. Thank you very much. Okay, you guys, moving right on. Next is G5. This is a Code Enforcement Technology Program. Councilperson Lightfoot Ward, this came out of your Code Enforcement Committee meeting the other day when you weren't here last Tuesday. The Code Enforcement officer said that there's a technology program that she's in dire need of to do her job more efficiently. And so what we did was we moved this to the Administration and Finance Committee because we wanted to talk about the pricing of it. Administration and Finance. We want to talk about the pricing of it. And it is well within the village manager's purview to get the technology program. We originally thought it was about $3,000, but the way she's looking at me, it looks like it's going to be more than that. Village manager, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Mayor Nickerson. Yes, just going over the three quotes that Code Enforcement Officer Shariar provided me. There are different types of technology. Again, the technology is so necessary to just get us into a different category of code enforcement and to allow her to do her job while she's out in the field, as opposed to having to run back to the village hall to upload and to do the things that she needs to do to get her enforcement in. So she's provided me the three quotes. I can certainly provide that to the committee at a later date, but within those quotes, we have anywhere from $12,000 to $4,000 annually. That is within my spending authority for certain, but I want it to be on your radar. I mean, the $4,000 one is, but I want it to be on your radar because I really do think that innovations is the way for us to go. We have one-person departments, and for us to be effective and efficient, we really have to utilize our technology the best we can. So this is a good investment in that department. With a good code enforcement officer like Michelle Shariar, I think we need to give her those tools to let her better utilize or do her job.
Thank you very much, Madam Manager. Before I open it to the council, so this is what I wanted out of this, you guys. Like I said, this was from last week's code enforcement meeting. At that particular time, we didn't have any prices to even have an idea of what the price level or what the prices were. So I wanted to move it to Administration and Finance Committees to kind of like hear the prices, to put it on your radar. The reason why these quotes weren't given out with the agenda package is because we were not going to vote on this tonight to move it to full council. All right, it's not a voting item. We are going to move this, we can move this back to the Code Enforcement Committee. We'll move it back to the Code Enforcement Committee. Chairperson Lightfoot Ward of the Code Enforcement Committee. What we will do, we'll move it back to your committee. In your next committee meeting, we'll have the village manager put those quotes in your agenda package in the next committee meeting. All right?
This is Administration and Finance Committee.
Yes.
This is a program, computerized program that I'm very much familiar with. Is it going to be part of the village's hardware?
So,
in other words, this person cannot take this program with them. It is a program. That's what it is.
Right. It's a license, so it
right.
stays with the village.
It stays with the village.
Mm-hmm.
Something that you and I probably had an idea about, but we didn't know that it was marketable like this.
Yes. Yeah, it's an annual subscription, much like the BSNA program that we have currently that does our accounting and building permit and all of that. It also has BSNA is the technology we currently use village-wide, for all of the administrative offices. However, code enforcement is so limited within BSNA. They really encourage us not to use theirs because it doesn't fulfill the needs we have. It's also free from BSNA to use the code enforcement part of BSNA. So, I mean, that lets you know that it's, not state of the art. It's not as advanced as what we need our code enforcement officers to do. So, yes, this is something that only would stay with the village. It's a license, an annual subscription. And as I said, the quotes range from $4,000 a year to $12,000 a year for the subscription. So I will provide the quotes to you all so you can take a review and see what they will garner. But other municipalities utilize these. In fact, no other municipality utilizes BSNA for code enforcement.
Can you hear me now? Yes. Oh, so every now and then I gotta do Jed Clampett. I gotta hit that, I see. So I love technology. I'm not knocking it, I'm just saying, I like someone who's keeping up with their profession. But do we need it at this level? Because if we don't need it at this level, I don't even want to think about putting it in the budget at this level. If we have already a technology already that we're using, if we don't have a technology, I have a problem with it. I'm not through yet. If we don't have a technology, then I think we need something. But if there's something cheaper than this, because we're not that way, I see the budget. I don't want to talk about that till next week, like the next time we meet. I just want to know that we're looking at it farsighted as opposed to being nearsighted, and that we're looking at it so that we can, as a small city, I like to know how many small cities have this level of technology. I want to know what's our payback on this at this level of our city. It's not Hallandale, it's not Miami, no. It's El Patel. And to the extent that we could share the technology with another city and thereby keep the cost low, all those are other options. I'm just thinking outside of the box, because every time I see the budget, and I didn't do the stats on what we're going up increasing since 1919, just simple 1919 is $200,000 more. Now we're talking about an additional expense. And I'm not picking on the code. I'm glad she knows about this, but I'm not certain that we are in need of such a technology that we couldn't share the cost with our neighboring city. If they're already using it, we share the cost 50-50. I don't know. I'm just saying 3,000, do the math. What's the middle of that, Urban? 8,000? 3,000.
The middle of 3,000?
No, the middle of 12,000 is what? 4,000?
6.
6,000?
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? So I'm just saying, if there are other cities and somebody's else already doing it, can we share the service in its cost? We get 4 cities together and we got top-notch something, and all 4 of us get to utilize it. I'm just thinking out the box, because that's a heavy expense. When I look down this road, we always seem to be getting involved in stuff, but we'll talk about that when the budget comes up. And we seem to be perpetualizing it as opposed to reducing something. I don't know. I'm just putting it out there. Here we go again. As the residents say, here we go again. Another top-notch expense that we never think about sharing the cost with other cities. We are tiny. The technology is going to be more than the number of people in the village.
Thank you,
sir.
Thank you very much, Councilperson Lightfoot. Again, you guys, I brought this up as a favor to put this on your radar because the code enforcement officer did bring this up in the code enforcement committee meeting. This will go back to the code enforcement committee. The code enforcement committee will decide if they want to choose one of the three or none at all. Myself, Vice Chair Martin, neither one of us are on the code enforcement committee. This will be discussed in a decision between Councilperson Lightfoot Ward, Vice Mayor Urban, and Councilperson Perella at the Code Enforcement Committee. If it comes out of the Code Enforcement Committee by a vote of at minimum 2, then it will go to the full council, and then myself and Vice Chair Martin will have our say into it. At this particular time, we have no say. The only reason why this is here is because we wanted to put this on the radar for you guys, because when the code enforcement officer mentioned it at the code enforcement committee, we didn't have any idea of the cost that right in front of us at that particular time. That's the only reason why it's here. All right? All right. Anybody else about this item?
I'll just make one comment and then briefly.
Can I finish?
Okay.
Because if I'm absent and my committee is already meeting and I'm not here, there's no reason to do that. And I wouldn't want to see it done again. I would not do that to Councilman Mark. You know what I'm trying to say. You, Urban, or nobody. I wouldn't do that to you all. I would say leave it in committee. I would not do that. I would not take a code enforcement and put it in another committee and then decide to do something. So now I'm saying right now, you're telling me something. You're telling me about finances. That thing shouldn't have even been there. You're telling me about finances. And now all I'm asking is a little respect. That's all I'm asking, just a little respect. This should not even be on the deal. We should literally have an opportunity before it even came up, Mayor. I see all of that, but I'm saying now it's getting all confused and wrapped up in the, maybe we need to do it right now. Maybe we need to look at it. Maybe we need to push it. No, let's just be honest with it and say, hey, we're not ready yet. We're just not ready yet. And I don't even want it to be considered in the budget at this point, because I want other options to how we take new technology and apply it as opposed to being sole ownership of it. That's all I'm asking. Because all I get out in the atmosphere, in the village, is Doc, do something with the budget. Doc, do something with the meetings. Doc, do something with, and this is one of those examples. All of a sudden it shows up and we got to do something. Same thing with that crazy committee that's coming out of legislation. That's crazy. We just heard about it, and now we got to get a whole new committee on that? That's the stuff I'm talking about. We keep looking at the block and not looking at the atmosphere. And this is one of those ideas. I like our code enforcement. Tell her I'm not badgering it. I'm just saying I want it, but I want it at a cost that this little bitty village can afford if possible. And we won't know that unless we do our homework. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. It's no disrespect. And when you say we're moving to do something so quickly, what we're doing is keeping it in code enforcement committee. So we weren't doing anything with it. We weren't moving it anywhere. We weren't allocating any money to it. We were just mentioning it because the code enforcement officer mentioned it. So I'm doing a favor for that. As far as if somebody is absent from a committee tabling an item, that's all well and good, but the business of government continues to move forward. If I'm absent 3 meetings in a row, should business stop because the mayor is absent? If I'm absent 2 meetings if I'm absent this next meeting with all these permit fees and adjustment fees, all this important stuff for next meeting, if I'm absent, you guys gonna table the whole meeting? He's here, skateboard park, one of our businesses, one of our new businesses, he's here for the alcohol ordinance. If I'm absent, you guys gonna table the alcohol ordinance? Is this not important to you, mister? Is time not important to you? We only meet so many times per year. If you're absent, that's okay, but we're not gonna stop the entire government from moving because a person's absent from a meeting. Anybody else on this agenda item before we move on?
I have a comment. I definitely don't want Councilperson Lightfoot Ward to feel slighted in any way. And I do support the general idea that if it's in your committee, you should have knowledge of the items. So hopefully, whatever was an affront to you in this meeting, we won't do again. I just kind of want everyone to feel respected, because I do respect everyone up here. And it is a hard, thankless job that you are all doing. And, you know, everyone has their boundaries. So I support your effort in being fully informed of items that impact your code enforcement committee moving forward.
Thank you, Councilperson Martin. Absolutely, which is why I said this is going back to the Code Enforcement Committee. I said that. I also said that myself and Vice Chair Martin will have no say if it doesn't come out of the committee. I also said that. So for somebody to say, well, Mayor, you're doing this wrong. Mayor, you're trying to do this. Mayor, you're trying to... No, I specifically said it's going back to the Code Enforcement Committee, and myself and Vice Chair Martin, who are not on the Code Enforcement Committee, will see it and discuss it if it goes through the Code Enforcement Committee to the full council. I said you guys can either pick one of the three or pick nothing at all. If you guys choose nothing at all, guess what? It dies in Code Enforcement Committee. Me and Vice Chair Martin will have no say ever about it. I don't see how that's being disrespectful. Anybody else about this item?
Yes, I have one comment.
Yes.
If I may. Okay. So on the topic of finance regarding this, I don't feel that there's an urgent need to solve this technology problem. Things that I just direct the council to keep an eye on would be when we finally replace the code enforcement vehicle with an adequate one. That will be a new gauge of how much time the code enforcement officer is spending out in the village. The way she had presented it to us was that she's essentially, she's in a redundant pattern where she goes out, she makes a citation, but then she has to come back to the village office, engage the program that we have, and then duplicate everything she documented out in the field into that system. And what Officer Shariar was saying is that there is technology available where she can do that all out in the field. And then assuming that we are able to clear the way for a new code enforcement vehicle, which is in crisis right now, because as it stands right now, we couldn't even expect her, honestly, with the technology, if we got it today, to be able to use it to its full potential, because the vehicle is not allowing her to stay out in the field. So once we solve the vehicle problem and she can remain in the field, then it's going to become apparent, I think, fairly quickly how critical a need this new technology is. I will just say that that from the previous 2 years, my involvement with the Code Enforcement Committee, predating Officer King and then Officer Shariar, I do feel that if we had had a technology like this in place, we might have had a chance of retaining Officer King, who was very, very good. And so from a retention standpoint of we have good people, we want to keep them. I will say that a technology like this, outside of the cost discussion, should certainly be something that's considered seriously, because it allows the officer to remain in the field and get all of the work done without having to be redundant back in the office. And I think that as she continues with Officer King's efforts of digitizing our records and things like that, we'll have a focus. The picture will come into view of how much we've really lost over the years of having a code enforcement that was not doing documentation, for example. Therefore, we weren't able to follow up in the end. And then again, going back to the need for the code enforcement town hall, there's still a miscommunication of what the function of code enforcement is. And so I think residents have a concern now that they're seeing notices that this is a draconian fee that they're being attached to, when the truth is there's no real fee attached to these citations and notices. It's a timeline to come back into compliance, and you come back into compliance in that timeline, and you're not paying any extra penalties to the village. And I think that specific point is very important for residents to understand now that we have a proactive, code enforcement officer. So I would tell the council to keep an eye on that. How does it go with a new vehicle? And then the level of critical need for the technology will become into focus at that point.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Irvine. Anybody else? We're moving on to the next item. Anybody else before we move to the next item?
No.
Okay. All right, move to the next item. For the text notification service, you guys, I'm going to table that until the next Administration and Finance Committee meeting only because of time, and we do have guests here. I want to be respectful to my vice chair in her next meeting where she will be chair of the Planning and Zoning, which is always an important meeting. I told you guys, I hope you guys did you guys contact the manager? I hope you guys kind of looked over the text notification service. And like I said, if you have any questions, contact the manager. I'll move this. It's not something that we're in a hurry to do. So I'll move this to the next Administration and Finance Committee meeting so we can move on and get to our next meeting, you guys. Do I have any objections about tabling this right now and moving it to the next Administration and Finance Committee meeting? You guys good with that?
No objections, but I do have a comment to say because, it was moving right after, after the new technology for code enforcement, which I agree with. The need to having a better program. I will also side with Councilwoman Lightfoot Ward about, what is being going on for the past year or so, which is, having salaries increasements and creating more expenditure items and the audit not being done for the past 2 years. I don't know whether we should be approving or, considering to keep creating these, expenditure items because we don't know if we are in good shape or not. So that's a comment I needed to say.
Thank you, Councilor Lightfoot Ward. Did you look at some of the quotes? Because some of the quotes are $50 annually.
No, I'm saying in general, most of, not just that item about, the technology, but also going back to the program for code enforcement and just in general.
I understand what you're saying. I just wanted to say, because we're particularly on G6, that
Right.
some of these quotes are $50 annually.
Right.
So. But like I said, we're going to table it to the next Administration and Finance Committee meeting. Anybody else on this before we table it? All right. Can I get a motion to table to the next Administration and Finance Committee meeting?
Motion to table this item to the next committee and Administration Finance meeting.
Thank you very much, Vice Chair Martin. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you very much, Vice Mayor Urban. All in favor for tabling this to the next Administration and Finance Committee meeting, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay.
Nay. Oh.
Thank you very much. Moving on, you guys. Good and welfare is next. This is the time right now where excuse me? Oh, the vote was the ayes have it. Thank you very much, Attorney Geller. The next thing is good and welfare. This is a time, you guys, where anybody can come up and talk about anything at all. It doesn't have to be anything on just this agenda. You guys can talk about anything at all that's on your mind. Seeing, hearing none. Moving right on, do we have a motion to adjourn? Moved by Councilperson Lightfoot Ward. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Chair Martin. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye. All opposed say nay. The ayes have it, Attorney Geller. The Administration and Finance Committee meeting for May 11, 2021 is adjourned at 8:31 p.m.